29-year-old female teacher, known for her treacherous nature, kidnapped and brutally murdered her own 8-year-old student. As an elementary school teacher, why would she be so cruel? On March 7, 2008, at the local experimental primary school, the homeroom teacher of Class 1 in the 3rd grade discovered that Xiao Wei, who had never been late before, was unexpectedly absent. So the teacher contacted Xiao Wei's family. Xiao Wei's father was puzzled and felt astonished, because he had clearly driven his daughter Xiao Wei to school in the morning. How could she have not attended class? Subsequently, Xiao Wei's parents mobilized relatives and friends to search frantically, but they searched every possible place, yet they couldn't find any trace of Xiao Wei. Considering that they had personally witnessed their daughter entering the school that morning, a lively and energetic child, how could she suddenly disappear? Then, Xiao Wei's parents hurriedly reported to the police. Through the investigation, the police learned that a classmate saw Xiao Wei leaving with the teacher, Liang Yaong. So, was Xiao Wei with her teacher? Why did Liang Yaong take Xiao Wei away? As a result, the police swiftly rushed to Liang Yaong's residence, and to everyone's disbelief, they indeed found Xiao Wei at Liang Yaong's place. But at that moment, Xiao Wei showed no signs of life. There were clearly visible strangulation marks on her neck, and her mouth and nose were wrapped with transparent tape. Obviously, Xiao Wei was murdered. Meanwhile, her teacher, Liang Yaong, became a major suspect in the case. On July 16, 2008, at the Intermediate People's Court in Zhengzhou, Hunan, the criminal suspect Liang Yaong and her accomplice Yu Lianhe were about to face a public trial for this case. Even before the trial began, hundreds of people had gathered outside the courtroom. Xiao Wei's relatives prominently displayed pictures of Xiao Wei, emotionally accusing the killer. To this day, they still wonder why Liang Yaong, a teacher of the people, would kill Xiao Wei. After all, Xiao Wei was usually very obedient and well-behaved. Besides, Liang Yaong was only Xiao Wei's second-grade teacher. At that time, she was no longer called Xiao Wei. Could there be some unknown grudge between him and Xiao Wei's parents? According to Liang Yaong's statement, on that morning, he took the previous student Xiao Wei to his home under the pretext of extra classes. After arriving at Liang Yaong's home, Liang Yaong took out previously prepared 7 sleeping pills, telling Xiao Wei that they were deworming pills and asked him to take them in 2 doses. Then he asked Xiao Wei to rest on the bed for a while. Unexpectedly, the medication seemed to have no effect on Xiao Wei. Seeing that Xiao Wei was not getting drowsy, and with the class time approaching, Xiao Wei began to cry and insisted on going to school. Liang Yaong had been waiting for Yu Lianhe to arrive. He kept calling Yu Lianhe's phone, but there was no answer. Liang Yaong began to feel anxious and restless. Xiao Wei kept crying and making a scene. He was worried that the neighbors would hear and discover the situation. He scolded Xiao Wei to keep quiet, but the young Xiao Wei became even more frightened. He cried louder and louder. At this moment, Liang Yaong's colleague called, asking him to come to the school immediately, saying that the principal wanted to see him. Unexpectedly, while Liang Yaong was answering the call, Xiao Wei took the opportunity to run toward the door. Seeing this, Liang Yaong quickly hung up the phone and tried to stop Xiao Wei. He pressed the boy's head down to the ground, and conveniently took a plastic bag to cover the girl's mouth and nose. He didn't let go until she stopped resisting. Because he was afraid Xiao Wei would pass out and wake up, causing a commotion with the neighbors, Liang Yaong found some transparent tape and sealed Xiao Wei's mouth and nose. Afterward, he went to the school, while Xiao Wei stopped breathing shortly after. In the courtroom, during the trial, Xiao Wei's parents listened to the harrowing account of their daughter's death, and they were filled with profound grief. They couldn't understand why Liang Yaong would do such a thing. After all, Liang Yaong had a respectable teaching job and seemed to have a decent appearance. Liang Yaong, on the other hand, didn't know how to answer. Because in the eyes of others, Liang Yaong not only had a good job, but also had a loving husband and a pair of intelligent and clever children. So as a mother herself, why would she ruthlessly kill a child who was only 8 years old? According to Liang Yaong's statement, she usually enjoyed playing cards, often playing mahjong with acquaintances, but the stakes were never high. Later, she heard that her relative Yu Lianhe was skilled at gambling and often won 9 out of 10 times. So the two of them started playing cards together. They decided that Liang Yaong would provide the money for Yu Lianhe to gamble, and once they won, they would split the money. Initially, Liang Yaong only watched and didn't gamble, but later she became deeply involved and couldn't extricate herself. However, for the bottomless pit of a casino, the money she had was not even enough to fill the gaps in her teeth. Soon, Liang Yaong lost everything she had, and she owed hundreds of thousands of debts. Feeling desperate, she and Yu Lianhe planned together to kidnap a student and extort ransom. They quickly targeted Xiao Wei, because Xiao Wei's father would always pick him up and drop him off in a luxury car. Liang Yaong speculated that his family must be wealthy. So she used the pretext of extra classes to deceive Xiao Wei and bring him to her home, and then Yu Lianhe demanded ransom from Xiao Wei's father. On August 3, 2008, the Intermediate People's Court of Zumadian sentenced Liang Yaong to death for kidnapping, depriving her of political rights for life, and sentenced Yu Lianhe to 15 years in prison with a fine of 50,000 yuan. After the first instance trial, Liang Yaong shed tears of remorse, but he appealed against the death sentence, claiming that he only intended to kidnap the child for money and had no intention of murder. He pleaded with the judge to give him another chance. However, his request was ultimately rejected. On the afternoon of September 16, 2009, Liang Yaong was executed in Suiping County. Liang Yaong went from being a respected teacher among the people to a despised murderer. All of this is closely related to gambling. Liang Yaong's experience tells us about the immense dangers of gambling. Therefore, for the sake of our own lives and the happiness of our families, we should all stay away from gambling and be law-abiding citizens. What are your thoughts on this? Feel free to leave comments and opinions.